Are we going to get a brand new WWE NXT champion? We will find out in just a few hours from this live stream. Maybe you already know if you're watching on demand. Is a veteran of WWE's tag team division, arguably one of the greatest athletes that WWE has on their roster, is he heading out the door? And CM Punk talks about another way he could have debuted for All Elite Wrestling. We're getting into all of it on today's Sportskeeda Wrestling Top Story of the Day.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. What's up, everybody? I'm Kev Kelm. That is Jeremy Lambert. How you doing, Jeremy? How are you in Nebraska?
Bennett. Lambert's over at Fightful. Wrong guy.
Oh, Lambert, Bennett? I don't care. Which one of you are? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I am doing good, man. Excited for Halloween Havoc tonight, man.
Halloween Havoc. I'm super busy. I did some interviews to promote the upcoming AAW Triple Threat this weekend, Friday and Saturday. We're running three big shows, excuse me. We're running the Gym Lineup Tournament, night 1, night 2. The lineup is crazy. Josh Alexander is on this. We have Lee Moriarty just signed with AEW is in this tournament. ACH, who was in NXT. We're going to talk about him. So we got a lot to get into here. I have too much black on.
I'm not happy with what they did with Josh Alexander. Not happy.
Maybe I'll get some word from him about that this weekend. We'll talk
not happy.
But the Gym Lineup Tournament is huge this weekend. The winner gets a shot at Fred Yehi, the AAW Heavyweight Champion, who'll be busy this weekend as well, as he takes on Eddie Kingston at Hell Hath No Fury. We're going to do a Saturday afternoon show as well outside of the tournament. Thunder Rosa on that card, as well as Sky Blue and Christy James taking on Los Sociedad Broicas in a Fans Bring the Weapons match. Tweet at me at Kev Kellum. Tell me what weapon I should bring. I am a broadcast journalist. I am broadcasting backside, but I'm just going to say maybe there's something that is on my person that I did not know was there. Yeah. And somehow through some other channel of people, I cannot confirm nor deny how this item would be procured in the possession of one Christy James and Sky Blue to decimate those foul-mouthed losers known as Los Sociedad Broicas. I'm not saying any, but let me what those items should be.
No bias. There's no bias here.
No bias whatsoever. So check out AAW Pro this weekend. 3 big shows. You can get them all on Fight.tv. Fight.tv, worldwide streaming pay-per-view. Let's get right into it. Halloween Havoc is tonight. This is a big one, and the word is... it is a changing of the guard is the possibility here. This isn't a spoiler, but at WrestleVotes says that tonight's Halloween Havoc, which will be headlined by NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa, taking on the surging, fastest rising star in the history of the NXT brand, formerly known as Rex Steiner to his family. We now know him as Bron Breakker. He's come up the card. He's the he is Generation Z's Goldberg. Colorful tights, throwback to his family. Is he taking this belt off Tommaso Ciampa tonight? Because WrestleVotes use the word launching pad. He all but said WrestleVotes has scooped a bunch of different things in WWE. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, betting sites are going real heavy on Breakker right now too. So I was fit when I recorded the podcast, Lost to the Midcard podcast on Wednesday night. I was talking to it with Matt, and I think both Matt and I agreed that Breakker was going to win, but I was at the time I was about 50-50, 60-40. I feel as we get closer to the event tonight, I feel like this is going to be a true changing of the guard. I think this is the first major show of NXT 2.0, so I think they're going to make it a point to have that changing of the guard. And, I am not at all mad about it. I'm happy that Ciampa got one more run with the title. I am happy that they've decided to make this guy their new top guy, and he's delivered in every aspect, promos, vignettes, in the ring. He's delivered everything. So I think the majority of the wrestling fans are going to be accepting of him being the NXT champion if he happens to win it tonight.
It'll certainly be interesting to see how this plays out. If there is some shenanigans here and he doesn't win this title, are people going to be disappointed? Are people going to be disappointed if they tune into this Halloween Havoc show, which you've built up to for weeks, as kind of like a pay-per-view on television, right? Are they going to be disappointed if there isn't a title change?
I don't think so. I think mainly if there's not a title change, I think having Ciampa as your champion, I think is not going to anger people if Breakker Breakker doesn't win somehow. I think if there was someone that wasn't as universally loved as champion, maybe, but with Ciampa as champion, I think you could go either way, and the masses are going to be generally okay with the result.
Maz texting in, Maz saying, if anything, I want to see Breakker use the Steiner recliner. Well,
he's been doing it, and they've been calling it. Wade Barrett has been calling it the recliner too. So they do everything they can to reference the Steiners without saying the Steiners.
CRC with us all the time. Thank you so much, Chris. He says, if anything happens, where does Ciampa go for here? If it happens, if he loses the title, I don't mind this being predictable, but if Ciampa loses, I would hope, maybe there's a spot for him on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown.
I'll do another cheap plug. We said this on the podcast. There was an interview that Ciampa did recently where we talked about that. Ciampa is now more receptive to going to Raw or SmackDown than he was, say, a year or two ago. So if he loses tonight, I would expect him to get the call up and probably bolster somebody's team for Survivor Series, possibly.
It'll certainly be interesting. King Dixon wants to see Ciampa go to Raw, he says here. Let us know, sound off. What do you want to see happen here on WWE NXT Halloween Havoc? If you already watched the show, you're watching this later on demand, you're not watching this live, let us know what you thought of the show. Give us your rating on that as well. Of course, we'll have full coverage of this tomorrow night on the debrief as well on Sportskeeda Top Story as well. So a lot to get into. Yeah. Speaking of NXT, we have an interview up right now with Indy Hartwell talking about this with our very own Rick Ucchino. She will be involved in a triple threat match for the NXT Women's Tag Team titles here. It'll be interesting here. So we have this question here. I always mess this name up. I feel bad. I gotta say a name a couple times here. Derek K says, "Sup, Kevin and Jeremy. Any news on the third Uso? Who is the mystery man going to be?" So there's a couple of the things that are going on tonight's NXT Halloween Havoc show. There'll be 2 spin the wheel, make a deal matches. So you'll have those with the women's tag match as well. So it'll be interesting.
And the wheel's rigged anyways, so
it's a fun wheel. I don't mind if it's rigged.
Just like Wheel of Fortune, Pat Sajak has a break.
Yes, don't make. Yeah, he can step on the brake and stop
breaking the fourth wall. Let me break the fourth wall down.
Yes. Even Wheel of Fortune is kayfabe, bro. So he has a question here about the Solo. How do you say his last name? I always mess this up.
Solo. I think it's Solo Sakai.
Solo Sakai. I want to say this correctly. He is another son of Rikishi that is now with WWE. He is in the Anoa'i family. He is of that lineage of The Rock and High Chief Peter Maivia and the Usos and Roman Reigns. And he debuts with a big spotlight on him and a lot of pressure here. I would assume he gets to face someone who's already established on the roster and beat him.
Or squash. Probably squash. I bet it's a 2-minute squash.
Like a glorified squash match.
They'll bring in a local jobber, probably.
Craig Backlund saying that Toxic Attraction are going to win those tag team titles. This is the new trio led by one Mandy Rose.
I think they're going to hold all the gold. I think they're holding all the gold after tonight.
And, of course, Mandy Rose is taking on Raquel Gonzalez for the NXT Women's Singles title. So a lot of matches on the show. This is a stacked card.
I haven't heard anything about JC Jane, so apparently she must have been okay after that scary botched suicide dive last week on NXT. So I haven't heard anything else on that. So she must be okay. They may have Gigi Dolan do the brunt of the work in that ladder match, possibly. And then maybe just have her, lay down on the, how they always have in the ladder matches. There's always someone, laying down and pretending to be hurt.
Body's got to clear traffic, man.
Yeah. So maybe they have JC take it a little easy and Gigi do most of that work tonight.
And of course you have the MSK taking on Imperium. This will be for the NXT Tag Team Championship. This is another spin the wheel, make a deal match here. So there's a lot on the show. We have a debut, and then we have the tease of this mystery person.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of debate about who this person could be.
Who?
And they've been kind of vague. We haven't gotten a full shot of who this person is. Our very own Rick Ucchino went out there and said it could be Paige.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think it's Elias, to be honest.
I think that's more of a safer bet than anything. If it's Elias and they don't demote him, but they move him over to NXT for a solid rehab here, and he does something interesting. Other comments here. Love everyone joining us. If you're with us for the first time, let us know where you guys are watching from and sound off. I know a lot of people kind of pop in and out here. That is what is going on with NXT tonight. Keep an eye on it. I think this is going to be a show you don't want to miss.
Yeah.
I think this is a show that NXT has proven they can do some things. I know some people say they do too much, But I think these takeovers are very, very solid. The last one that kind of wrapped up the last era of NXT, and this one that is the first one of it, are going to do some special things. Most of the matches on NXT have been squash matches, though they've had a 2.0. They've had some big main events that I think have been really good. This is a real test for them. This is a real test for a lot of those younger people there. And then a test, a revived interest in the people that are already on there. We have people that are just yelling out Sting because we're doing spin the wheel, make a deal, and all that good stuff here. Shout out to Travis watching from Delaware. All right. If you're watching it for the first time, let us know where you guys are watching from. Strong Island here. Timmy's in Strong Island. So thank you guys. Let us know what you are. And hammer that like button. Let us know what you think of the show as well. We do this every afternoon right around this time, 5:30 Central, 6:30 in the East. Make sure those notifications are on so you can join us. And, of course, we have Vince Russo. He had a lot to say about Monday Night Raw last night. It's pretty controversial takes. There's some things he said about Seth Rollins I don't agree with. Maybe you agree with him. And Seth Rollins, the new #1 contender. So we have all that stuff going on right now on the channel of Sportskeeda Wrestling. Let's move on to story number 2. This one's a little bit more interesting. I know everyone wants to know who's leaving WWE for AEW. That's something we talk about almost every single week. People are talking about with Charlotte Flair. We covered that episode yesterday. Just because people think there's so much backstage drama, they can just make it wild assumptions. But there's this other story now coming together here with Chad Gable. Tell me about Chad Gable.
Dave Meltzer recently mentioned on the Wrestling Observer Radio, there are people that have suggested him to go elsewhere when his contract expires. He said, quote, Chad Gable is fantastic. He's so fantastic. And they do nothing with him. He's one of those guys where I would go, God, get out of here. But, it's been talked about, and I don't think it's going to happen. It's been talked about, and he's definitely had friends telling him the same thing. And I know it's one of those things that's under consideration, but I don't think he's going anywhere. So apparently Gable being told by friends to go elsewhere, but Meltzer saying that he doesn't think it's going to happen. He says that Gable is making a lot of money in WWE, and AEW isn't necessarily going to take him on. It's not a guarantee he would go there. So it is, it is up in the air. I do agree, though. Gable's talents have never really been fully utilized. He's a great on the mic. He's great in the ring, but has always been pigeonholed into tag teams and not really been.
To say he's never been utilized, I think is more just looking at what's been happening with him recently. Because when he was banging with those tag teams, he was doing some great stuff. And when they tried to do the Shorty G thing with him, they tried something. It was a silly name, but they tried something with him, right? So to say they didn't utilize him, I think that's just looking at what they did with him in the last year, right? And he's doing some dynamic things. I think he's one of those sleeper guys that if someone does leave and it isn't him, that he's one of those guys that they want to keep around. Because he already has a polish on him. He's a part of that first class of NXT that broke out really big. He can cut dynamic promos. He can work on a script. He can work off a script. And he can have a great match with almost anybody.
Don't forget, he's on the same brand as Gable Steveson now too.
Yeah, and so I think another thing with Gable Steveson, this big stud from the Olympic wrestling world that they're bringing in here, who won the gold. WWE likes that legitimacy, and you have someone in Chad Gable who has the same background. He was an NCAA, collegiate wrestler at that level, and nearly was on the Olympic team, and had all those issues too. He was in an Olympic team. So my thought process is, if you're Chad Gable, the sky's the limit. You're gonna get an offer here. Is that offer going to be one that they keep you with here? Is it going to be interesting, or do you want to do something different? He could go to AEW and do some big stuff, but I just think All Elite's getting a little bit too crowded with hot hands that are coming over from WWE at the moment to stand out. Like Tony Nese popped up on this week. He was with 205 Live for a long time. He was in NXT. He was in that system.
Where is he signed to? Is officially signed now.
Yeah, and he's officially signed. But that needle didn't move, and that isn't a shot at Tony Nese. That needle didn't move because he's the fifth or fourth guy to jump over to AEW in the last how many months now?
Yeah.
So, and that's no shot at Tony. It's just, that's the perspective the fans have now. It's just a matter of who's next, right?
Yeah.
And someone else will go over, but as we said, there's some contracts that are going to come up with All Elite Wrestling, and someone's going to go over to WWE.
I could see maybe Gable making the move more later in his career when his wrestling career is winding down. He could be a great manager for somebody down the road. He can be a great person backstage as well. So maybe WWE with his current in-ring, maybe WWE is still his best option. But obviously his friends, they know what he's capable of, and they're just not getting that with him right now. Taming with Otis, you don't hear him really cutting too many promos. They're not really going anywhere in the tag division yet either. I mean, it was kind of, I saw some people like last night saying they were a little surprised, though Raw was a good show, and that triple threat tag match was good, but a lot of people were kind of surprised how they didn't make Otis look like a monster like he usually is. So they're maybe kind of putting those two together and just seeing, maybe he's spinning his wheels right now with Otis.
I mean, definitely they pulled the spotlight off him. They were doing something with Gable and Otis on SmackDown, but other stuff happened on SmackDown, and Roman became a much bigger star. And let's give Roman another 2 or 3 segments on SmackDown. That means a lot of your mid-card guys get booted off the show.
Well, it takes them 15 minutes to get to the ring. So
yeah, exactly. You have 36 minutes of a 2-hour show this week. Yeah. The first segment before they even had up, the bell ring. So lot going on with Chad. I could see him going either way. I think it's really 50-50. But if he stays in WWE, I don't think he stays for nothing. Just like Cesaro did not stay for nothing. He signed a new deal earlier this year. There's a reason. There's something in that deal that made him feel compelled to want to stay with WWE. And you had Bryan Danielson this week saying why he left. He's like, I love WWE, but something's exciting about AEW and it's new. And I could have stayed at WWE and been happy, but I want to do something new and do something more wrestling focused. So with Gable, he could definitely do something more wrestling focused in the ring.
Plus you got, Impact is a good option. They just need a better TV carrier to get a little more reach, but Impact still is a good destination. And you look at guys that have moved over, like Brian Myers has had a great run since he's moved over from WWE. Heath is now just finally getting healthy. Him and Rhino now reunited after Bound for Glory. So there is room Impact where apparently some of the bigger guys may go. Those big debuts didn't happen at Bound for Glory like a lot of people thought, but that is still also a good destination for wrestlers to really shine. And a good example of that would be Brian Myers.
Great example of that was Brian Myers. Absolutely true.
He's doing tremendous over there.
Following up with fans here about what they expect from tonight's NXT, who this mystery person can be, because that's something that fans always take the debate on that. I'm sorry. I am too. Anytime they say a mystery man is coming, I'm just, let's guess. Let's debate who's going to be here.
Yeah, I thought it was Shotzi at first, but then the rumors were that draft is going to stick and she's going to be a heel over on SmackDown. So then I switched to Elias.
Jason Michael saying I think it'd either be Paige or Elias. So those are the two leading candidates at the moment.
Man, if it's Paige, that's going to blow up the internet, man.
It would. It would do a lot of things for NXT if she showed up. She has a lot of fans who are with her from that Total Divas show. They have a lot of fans who are with her from, Fighting With My Family, the movie, and all these different things. And she's kind of sustained a diehard audience, and fans of a certain age really adore her. She debuted at the right time too. So a lot of talk here about who it is here. And Tim Hardy wants it to be them as well. So a lot of people with different takes. Other people think it'd be Dakota Kai, who's been out of the picture for NXT for quite some time. So it'll be interesting to see how they play this here. Let's jump into our third story here. CM Punk had one of the biggest moments of the year. His debut with AEW, I was there for it. A sold-out United Center, 22,000 people to see him return to professional wrestling. It is, without a shadow of a doubt, the biggest jump since Jericho in the wrestling war between WWE and AEW. And it had a lot of different things going on it, and the simplicity of it was so big. It was just him coming out, having a promo. Oh, there's Darby. You and I are going to have a match, and I'm back for wrestling for these reasons, and let's effing go, right?
We'll see it all in, or all out.
We'll see it all out, right? So there was some talk of doing something else with this, and CM Punk's kind of clarified they could have added some other elements to this. What's up?
This probably would have pissed off everybody. But CM Punk talking with Josh Martinez at Z100. I don't know if that's in Chicago or not.
That is in New York City.
New York City. Thank you. Josh Martinez with Z100. Punk said that thought crossed his mind to have Cult of Personality play at the first dance, but not have him come out, but have MJF come out instead. And boy, that would have probably drawn nuclear heat. Punk said the thought that, of course, did cross my mind. Once I realized that the thought on everybody's mind, to me, it wasn't the right thing to do. Not yet. It basically, everybody was expecting it to happen. So if Punk would not have shown up there would have been nuclear heat in a bad way. I mean, MJF does not need to be in that position to get nuclear heat. He can get it on his own. So he doesn't need to do something like this to get even more heat. He's one of the best heels in the business. So Punk made the right call here, to be honest with you, because I think a lot of people would have been upset if he was not at the Last Dance.
Absolutely. Could be interesting for sure here.
Ooh, him and Fish this week. I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be something. I think AEW, though, did get some negative news coming out of the weekend. They did get preempted by baseball, and Dynamite got moved over to Saturday Night Dynamite. And, of course, Rampage had an issue here, and Dynamite had to deal with a replay of SmackDown that was on air opposite them. Fox did that because they had a less of a playoff series. They were supposed to get Game 7 of one of the semifinals, and
neither one went 7.
Yeah, the game didn't go 7, so they went to SmackDown as their backup plan here.
Yep.
And so that ended up being on air at the same time as Dynamite, right?
Yeah.
And did fine. SmackDown went back up over 2 million. So that's the difference between network television and cable. Is pretty significant here.
And expect Dynamite to get back over to 1 million on its regular time slot on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think I thought when they had preemptions early in the year because of basketball that they would take a hit like that. Like they would come back to Dynamite on Wednesdays and it'd be around 700,000. They would get a significant bump. But they were right back where they were. I wouldn't be surprised if they are too. I think Wednesday nights is where they've developed their audience, and that's where people know them. And it's hard to get people to follow you on Saturday night. It's hard to get people to say, "Hey, I'm going to spend my Saturday night in." If it's not a pay-per-view, to watch something. It just is with television at least.
Yeah.
A lot of people chiming in here. But Jason Michael, Fish turn heel. Do you like that, Jeremy? Do you like it if he turns heel?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Fish is a good heel. You've seen it a lot in Ring of Honor. You saw it with the Undisputed Era. He could play the heel role. I think it was more. It was a surprise that he was doing what he did, but it was a great end game to have CM Punk come out and because those two are gonna tear down the house. If they give them 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to have a very, very good match. So I was kind of excited on how that all played out. I'm not sure what the long-term plan is for Fish, but short-term plan, I think it was a well-done heel turn.
Happy birthday to CM Punk, by the way, as well. Happy birthday to him. Hope he has a good one. Anthony Manzano says, Kevin, why do you think the deal with Strowman Impact Wrestling didn't go through? He didn't debut at Bound for Glory last weekend. Well, just because he didn't debut at Bound for Glory last weekend doesn't mean he's not going to debut for Impact or that he isn't going to do anything with them.
Yeah.
And
the rumors are still there.
The rumors are still there. I mean, it was widely known, that Scott D'Amore had a meeting with Bron. Excuse me. Maybe he had a meeting with Bray, right? But for sure he had one that was publicly visible to people. They could see, Bron and Scott D'Amore having a meeting. And if that's not a tell, at least that they're, kicking the tires to see if this is a car they want to take off the lot, then, another thing is I don't think it's always something you got to do at a pay-per-view. There were some other stories they needed to tell. And did the big story you want to be again at Bound for Glory debuts and people coming over from another organization? Because they've done that with the past few Bound for Glories. It's not, I don't think it's the pattern you want to build up.
The problem was they were teasing that too. They were teasing these debuts on vignettes at the beginning of their promotion for Bound for Glory. So that was why a lot of people expected it.
But they backed off that, and you knew that the Iconics were coming, right?
Yeah.
And they told you they were going to have some big things. I think they ran some like internet thing that like flashed a bunch of images and it had Samoa Joe in it.
Yeah.
And it was when Joe may have
been it was the exact same tease they ran last year when you had Brian Myers, Heath, and the Good Brothers coming over. So
yeah. So I don't think they didn't keep the gas going on that into the show. They kind of focused on their storylines and stuff like that, which was smarter. All these different things. It's kind of a busy time here, man. Think some stuff's going to come together here. We have that WWE pay-per-view schedule that is up now at sportskeeda.com. A lot of news on a lot of different things. Chris Jericho, everything is going on with him and the Chris Jericho cruise. Oh, by the way, Kurt Angle's going to be on our channel tonight, by the way. He will be on Unscripted episode 500. So that's going to be a really, really fun one to check out. You will be able to ask Kurt Angle some questions. So if you jump into our chat, you'll be able to ask him some questions. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. Once again, AAW this weekend, Friday, night 1 of the Jim Lynam Memorial Tournament, honoring the founder of AAW that is going down here, one of the best promoters in the history of independent wrestling. So it's happy to be a part of this event. You can get tickets to it. Use that promo code that only if a couple people know. I'm letting you know this. It's AAW Family. and get $5 off your ticket if you're coming to the shows, which feature Josh Alexander, I just mentioned, Lee Moriarty, ACH. We'll also have Hell Hath No Fury at 2 p.m. Central on Saturday afternoon, featuring Eddie Kingston versus Fred Yehi for the AAW Heavyweight Championship. Thunder Rosa in action as well. We'll have Allison Kay of Impact Wrestling fame. If fans bring the weapons match with Sky Blue, Christy Janes taking
go to Home Depot, get yourself a kitchen sink. I want you to bring the kitchen. I want you to bring the kitchen sink. So that way the announcers can't say that they had everything but the kitchen sink.
Absolutely. People have brought some crazy things to AEW fans bring the weapons matches. I can tell you that. They've brought some insane things to these. Things I cannot mention on the website we're streaming right now.
Ooh.
Go check that out in our archive, aawondemand.com. These shows will be streaming live on fight.tv. Links are up on my Twitter right now, at Kev Kellum. I will be doing Car Con Carne tonight with the great James Van Ossel to promote this. I'm a busy man. People are going to ask me about Gable Stevenson. Don't worry. Maybe Gable, Chad Gable.
I'm sure Featherstone's got something about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely join us later on tonight. Kurt Angle will be here for episode 500 of Unscripted with Chris Featherstone. Check that out as well. You're busy, buddy. Tell them what's going on.
Yep. We got Lost in the Mid-Card every week. We are going to record tomorrow night for your Thursday viewing pleasure. We will be reviewing Crown Jewel as well as Bound for Glory. Spoiler alert, both Matt and I are not happy with how Bound for Glory turned out at the end. We will talk about all that and more. Just search for Lost in the Mid-Card on your podcasting feeds, either Spotify, iTunes, any of that fun stuff. It's everywhere. Make sure you choose the new feed as we switch to anchor.fm recently. And we're also got a video version of the podcast on YouTube. Help us increase those subscribers as well. Please head to YouTube and search Lost in the Mid-Card. We'll drop it late Thursday afternoon, early Thursday evening.
Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing that you can. And this is critical. I know a lot of people get angry about all these different things. And the most critical thing is, when watching wrestling, you do this. You take a breath. You don't get mad about your predictions and your fantasy bookings not being fulfilled by billionaires on a TV show. No. You say, wow, I'm just going to enjoy wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time to host the Havoc. Yeah.
Happy Halloween, everybody. See ya.